Let me begin by paying tribute to our armed forces and by expressing my concern and sympathy for the British citizens whose lives have been disrupted by the conflict so far. I understand the anxiety felt by families and businesses during these incredibly uncertain times. And this conflict affects us all, and we must respond to it. As I have demonstrated time and time again, I will take the necessary decisions to help families with the cost of living and protect the public finances. I'm clear-eyed about my response to the current situation. My economic approach will both be responsive to a changing world and responsible in the national interest. The economic impact of the situation in the Middle East will depend, of course, on its severity and its duration. The movements that we have already seen are likely to put upward pressure on inflation in the coming months. But I also want to confirm to the House that our financial markets are functioning, and I'm in regular touch with the Governor of the Bank of England. This afternoon, I spoke with G7 finance ministers, setting out my priorities for the international cooperation needed. First, calling for immediate de-escalation and a return to the diplomatic process. Second, we must guarantee the security of vessels passing through the Strait of Hormuz. Third, I stand ready to support a coordinated release of collective International Energy Agency oil reserves. And fourth, the UK will play its part as the global hub of maritime insurance. And I am meeting with the Chair of Lloyd's of London later today, where we will discuss how best to support the continued passage of maritime trade. I want to ensure the country that the fundamentals of Britain's economy are strong. Every step that I have taken since the election has built our national resilience, stability in the public finances, investment in infrastructure, in both defence and energy security, and reform to our economy. Last week, I updated the House about our progress in delivering that plan. We have cut inflation so that it is now at 3%, a lower base than at the outset of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. I have prioritised economic growth to drive up living standards, and I have stabilised the public finances. We have already reduced the deficit by £20 billion since last year, from 5.2% to 4.3% of GDP. We are due to reduce borrowing more over the rest of this Parliament and by more than any other G7 economy. And I have increased our financial buffers, confirmed last week by the Office for Budget Responsibility. I know that families and businesses will be concerned about the impact of this conflict on them. And so I want to set out the action we have already taken and will take to protect them. I'm prioritising energy security, investing in clean, homegrown energy. Our contracts for difference are already protecting consumers, ensuring that generators of low-carbon energy pay money back into the system when the wholesale prices are high, shielding bill payers from fossil fuel price shocks. I can confirm to the House that in the coming days we will publish the government's response to the Finkelton review of nuclear regulation to build nuclear power more quickly. Our energy system is now more secure than it was at the outset of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. In 2025, the UK imported 17% less gas than we did in 2021. And while gas generation is estimated to have set the wholesale price of electricity in Britain around 90% of the time in the early 2020s, this has now fallen by around a third. What this means is that we are less reliant on and less exposed to volatile international energy prices than we were at the outset of the Russian-Ukraine conflict, and that is welcome. I recognise the role that North Sea oil and gas will play in our economy for years to come. Last week, I met with North Sea industry leaders to discuss their role in jobs, investment and growth, and in energy supply. The Energy Profits Levy currently remains in place, and the electricity generator levy will also be activated if prices remain at high levels. I have set out the details of our successor regime to the energy profits levy, the oil and gas price mechanism, balancing providing certainty to business with fairly taxing windfall profits from energy companies. I have also taken direct action on energy bills. Our supercharger discount on business electricity is increasing next month, cutting costs for around 500 of the most energy-intensive businesses by an additional £420 million per year. We are supporting the lowest income families by investing £15 billion in our Warm Homes plan to improve the energy efficiency of people's homes and reduce their bills. And through the Warm Homes discount, taking £150 off bills for 6 million of the lowest income households. That is a doubling of the number of people who will receive the Warm Home discount compared with those plans that the previous government had. That is in addition to the £117 price drop in the price cap that Ofgem have confirmed from next month, thanks to the wider action on bills that I took in the budget. I want to be clear to families at home that despite the movements we have seen in energy prices in the last few days, the price cap for domestic bills for April will not change, giving families immediate certainty on their bills until at least the end of June. However, I recognise that households who use heating oil face unique challenges, and so I have asked the Financial Secretary to the Treasury to lead discussions with officials and with rural and Northern Irish MPs to explore further action that we can take, and those meetings will happen on Wednesday. The current conflict only increases the importance of the action I took at the budget to reduce energy bills. A rapid de-escalation in the Middle East remains the best way to protect us from rising energy bills. But as the situation continues to unfold, my priorities will continue to be helping families with the cost of living and protecting the public finances. I'm also taking action to ensure that people pay the lowest possible price at the pump. In November, I extended the 5p per litre cut in fuel duty for a further 5 months and ensured that fuel duty will not increase in line with inflation this year. Petrol is more than 8p per litre cheaper today than it would have been under the plans that we inherited at the election. And that discount increases to 11p per litre next month once that extension takes effect. The new cheap fuel finder that I confirmed at the budget is currently being delivered, helping consumers find the cheapest price for their fuel. Almost 90% of petrol retailers have already registered for this. And last week, I instructed my officials to accelerate the integration of the cheaper fuel finder with MAP applications. This week, I am meeting with petrol forecourt operators, and I will not hesitate to call out retailers who fail to provide data to the fuel finder. I am clear that the best way to keep prices at the pump low is rapid de-escalation, and I will continue to monitor prices as the situation develops. I have also asked the Competition and Markets Authority to be vigilant across prices, including essentials like road fuel and heating oil. Let me be absolutely clear. I will not tolerate any company exploiting the current crisis to make excess profits at consumers' expense. I am proud to be the Chancellor that is delivering the biggest uplift in defence spending since the end of the Cold War. And I am committed to giving our military the resource that they need. That is why I can confirm today that I approved access for the Ministry of Defence to the Special Reserve to deploy additional capabilities in the Middle East, meaning that no net additional costs of these operations will be funded by the MOD, but instead will be funded by the Treasury. Mr. Speaker, Madam Deputy Speaker, we don't yet know how long the conflict will last or what further action will be required. But it is my duty to be responsive in an uncertain world and responsible in the national interest, to protect the public finances and help families with the cost of living. That is what the Prime Minister is doing. That is what I will continue to do. And I commend this statement to the House.
Yeah.